4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. It's Eric from the Bench Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Trevor Ward.
T-Rev, what's going on, everybody?
Thought we'd come on here again. The draft's just over a week away. There's still lots of prospects to go over.
I can taste it. It's so close.
It's getting exciting. You just feel like it's going to be a good one, even with all the
Miami owns the draft, 14 picks. I can't wait to see what goes on.
And it's wild, right? So, and obviously,
if they like somebody, they're getting them.
This is going to be this is going to be a weird draft right now. We don't really. I guess Commissioner Goodell's doing it from his basement, so Goodell's going to be the same as you and I.
Who are you kidding, Goodell? You make loads of money. I bet you it's like pimped out.
Yeah.
He's probably like Hugh Hefner, eh? He's probably got like
they put in a bunch of like boosters and stuff to like make sure it they don't lose like internet, reception
I hope
at all.
That came out of his pocket, not the NFL's. Come on.
I guarantee it came out of the NFL's.
Who are you kidding, Goodell? You're loaded.
That came out of the NFL's. I guarantee it. Have you never met a businessman or a guy that's a manager? Everything always comes out of the business's pocket.
Well, I hope he donates to that
COVID-19
to something because he's got loads of money.
They got loads. We're going to get into two prospects again this time, and we're also going to highlight a team, the Bears. It's going to be a pretty good episode, I think. What have you been up to? I guess we haven't talked in a couple days, but what have you been up to in the last 3 or 4 days?
Well, we've actually got some good weather, so I've been out of the house, but in my yard. I'm going to stress that.
Yeah.
I've been in the garage, I told you at the start of this episode, or before we come on here. Anyways, I got the motor out of the 350 motor out of the Camaro, which is awesome. I'm going to replace that with another one, but first I got a lot of stuff to do before the motor goes in, as you know. So that's what I did. I did some maintenance around here too, did a little cleaning. I know that sounds horrible, some spring cleaning.
Hey, that's what you got to do.
And nothing too exciting, really.
That's exciting.
Yourself?
Been in the basement.
Drinking Pink Whitney's?
Drinking Pink Whitney. Got the windows open during the day, trying to keep,
get some spring air in there?
Get some spring air in there, air this place out.
I like it.
Playing some Xbox, watching some game tape.
I played some Gears. Oh, man, I played some NHL and PlayStation today. I got spanked. It wasn't good.
It's not good. But yeah.
What's your goalie's name there in Colorado right now? The starter?
Grubauer?
Oh, my God, I have him. Oh, man, he didn't stop it. Man, I was mad. But anyways, let's move along here.
So that's about it. And I just, he said it's a weird time. Can't really do a whole lot work-wise. So, just trying to keep ourselves occupied otherwise. So, but yeah, we'll get past all that. Like I said, it's exciting, but we're going to talk about some draft prospects for
some exciting draft prospects.
And all these guys are going. Everyone we're talking about, these guys are all going in that first day, right? Like they're all going.
This in this draft here. Like I'm really excited for the first 3 rounds, almost really the first 4, and that's when you're a huge nerd and you're into football when you talk about 4 rounds in the draft.
Well, the nice thing about
there's
it,
just so many good players. It's deep. You obviously, like I said, I watch college as much as I can. I've got a lot of favorites, and it's awesome to see where they end up.
Well, it's weird too, right? Because every year you kind of know, okay, this guy ranks here, and maybe this team goes up and down, but we kind of know this guy will probably be the first offensive tackle taken off the board. This one will be the first defensive end. This one, and other than defensive end, and
then you always got that random team that takes a guy somewhere where you can't predict or analysts can't predict, and that's always fun too. Especially that happens in hockey a lot too, and that's awesome.
And
does it work out? Are they a genius? Are they
not? You don't know, right? So
exactly.
It's definitely different.
It's fun though. It's fun.
But I find this year you have there's 3 or 4 offensive tackles that could go first. First 4 offensive tackles. Receivers, you could go anywhere. I think CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are kind of the top 2, but maybe somebody comes in with a random person, right? Like Mims or one of these other guys. You know, you see it. Running backs, I don't think we'll see on the first day, but like I said, even the quarterbacks. It's
hard to say if you're in love with somebody. You know how that is, and they want that extra year. Because the first round you get 5 years, so a lot of teams get excited about that.
And so back up but you have Joe Burrows, obviously, who everyone's kind of said that he's going to go first overall. But after that, you know, you got Tua, you got Justin Herbert, who we highlighted last week. You have Love. You know, you got all these guys that are, could be the second quarterback
a lot of
off.
Rumors that Love and Herbert could drop, so it's hard to say what's going to go on there.
So, but it's like I said, it just adds more to the draft, and I don't think.
And then are some of these teams worried about Tua's injury history, and will he drop? It's very interesting.
Yeah, so I think maybe next week before the draft, maybe we'll try to do something when it comes to mock drafts. The first ever Eric and Trevor mock draft.
We could dabble in a top 10. We could either do a joint one or we could do our own.
Yeah,
whatever you think.
Be pretty different. Yeah, maybe we'll do something where you have the first overall pick, I have the second, you have the third.
Okay.
Just go back and forth. We could do that too.
I like that idea.
It'd be something different, right? So lots of stuff, like I said, just trying to keep the content going. Was on
lots of content, lots of things to talk about.
Was on YouTube earlier. I kind of cut up all the from the podcast last week where we highlighted each guy, and we'll do it again for this week too. But we're gonna I was kind of cutting them up and throwing them up on YouTube so people could watch them individually too. So lots of stuff to do. But we're going to get into the first prospect for today. And Trevor, who do you want to start with on your end?
Well, I'm pretty sure you already mentioned this guy, so we may as well go there right away. A lot of people expect him to go first overall to the Bengals, and that's Joe Burrow, quarterback from LSU, senior. Now, when I first looked at the numbers here, Eric, this is kind of hilarious. I watched Burrows a lot, as much as I could this year, and I knew the hype about him. I seen him lots last year, actually, too. And I seen him evolve. That's a good way to put it, I guess. But so when I was looking at the numbers, so 2019 season, he had for yards, 5,671 yards passing. He had for touchdowns, he had 60. And for interceptions, he had 6. I had to Google this a couple times and look up a couple different sources. Because at first glance, it's like there's no way in hell this can be correct. He had 60 touchdowns. But that was the case. You're talking about a guy who really only played he only did play 2 years in LSU. But he really grasped the system in the second year. His head coach really let him do his thing and put all his trust in him. And I think it was a good decision. Like I said, only 6 interceptions to 60 touchdowns, which is unheard of. He broke a bunch of records, obviously, this year in college football. And his 2000, I'll give for numbers, just to give you a grasp on how big the jump was. In 2018, which was his first year starting fully for LSU, he had 2,894 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Again, he only threw 5 INTs, so he's taking care of the ball, which I don't care what level you're in. That's great news, right? If you're not turning the ball over, a good chance you're winning. It doesn't matter, like I said, in college or the pros. So that's a good habit. I think we both can agree on.
100%.
But it just shows you the massive leap. Like you can't, video game numbers. Like I hate to say that. That's kind of cliche, probably.
Who goes out and scores 60 touchdowns?
But seriously, and there's only so many games in college. It's not like the NFL where you're playing 16 regular season games. So there's your first halal moment.
And obviously you're going to have the odd team that's kind of like a weaker, competition. They played Rice. They played Arkansas. A couple other places.
I do have in my notes here. I will come out and say this right away. So they played Georgia, and he threw at least 3 touchdown passes against Georgia. And I mean, they weren't behind. Like I was really shocked when I saw this because I'm a big, as Eric knows, the rest of you don't, but I follow Georgia. It's one of the I follow many college teams, but Georgia's one of those ones for football for me.
Yeah, they've always stood out. They've always stood out to you.
Yeah, and they've always been sick defensively, which I always appreciate, and they have a strong running game, which I enjoy as well. So that was really interesting to me because Georgia's been really good the last 3 years for sure, like outstandingly good. And he torched himself, like just they torched them. And it's not just 5 yard, 10 yards downfield like dink and dunk stuff. People like they're taking big chunks. So that jumps out at you right away. So the competition, he did play some really good teams this year, obviously. So I'm gonna dive
head first, right off the top.
So another thing I noticed, the guy, if they're behind in a game, I just love his poise. He doesn't look rattled. It looks like they're up by 17 when they could be realistically down by 17.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy that part of his game. When you put the tape on, you watch him. There's no panic. If his first guy's covered, he reads his second and third option very well. What also I find is becoming a theme here, probably since Russell Wilson came into the league in the NFL, is that, and well, Aaron Rodgers does this amazingly well too, is prolonging the play when it breaks down and it's not the original play, and just making a play. He does a very good job of this, like a very good job. So in the new NFL, I want to call it, new offensive NFL, this is very important that you can make something happen out of nothing when the original play goes to shit, I'm going to say.
Yep.
And I'm dropping the shit word out there. But so I'm impressed with that. He's a very smart player. Very, very good awareness in the pocket. He's not crazy fast like some of the other quarterbacks here when it comes to scrambling and stuff, but he's very manageable. He's got the pocket awareness.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that,
it's important. Like, you don't need to be a crazy athlete as long as you can give.
No, you don't. Everyone doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson, right?
Exactly.
Aaron Rodgers isn't. He's not out there running a 4-4.
Like, look at Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Even Drew Brees. They can just a little shimmy shake, a little side shuffle, a little step up. It's.
Well,
just the dodge.
Everyone says, when they go back through everything, that one of the best mobile quarterbacks of all time is Dan Marino, and it's not because Dan Marino's obviously not running down.
He was a beauty.
But he's not moving. He's not going down there for 80 yards.
Could you imagine if he got to play against Tom? Like, that would have been epic.
And then that's one of those things. Like, a lot of people can say a lot of things, but Dan Marino is, possibly has the greatest arm talent just for throwing the ball, right? Like, Dan Marino had all the records before everybody else. In an era when
he really revolutionized.
Yeah, in an era when it wasn't whatever. But with him, it's how he moved in the pocket, right? Moving that little bit to the left, a little bit to that right. It's that pocket presence that you need to know when you got to step up to kind of get in front of that rusher.
Any successful quarterbacks kind of got that sixth sense, right?
Yeah.
In the pocket. A lot of them, or they can run for their lives, like Russell Wilson, or I know I keep saying that, Michael Vick. Michael Vick could scramble. All these young guys. It's an element in today's game where I see it seems to be like you need to be able to run, or even Daniel Jones.
Yep.
Very athletic, doesn't get enough credit that way.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, right? Like, that's what everyone sees the Mahomes, and they say, well, we need a mobile quarterback, but they've been drafting mobile quarterbacks for years, right? You go back to the Vince Young, you go back to Mitch Trubisky,
exactly. They don't
all these guys, that are we'll get into Mitch Trubisky later, but all these guys that are athletic, that can move around, and if you can't sling the rock, then it doesn't matter, right? Like, you're a quarterback, you have to throw the ball at some point, right? Make the right decisions. And a lot of it comes down
you're not going to be out in the lead. Eventually, somebody's going to have your number, and you're going to try to come back from behind.
Yeah.
And that's when you got it or you don't.
Yeah. So I agree. Like, watching Burrow, the way he, moves around in the pocket, like, he's very fluid. He's good.
It's not sexy all the time, but it's very
doesn't have to be, right?
It works. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So you're impressed with him too.
No, 100%. And the one thing, and I guess that a lot of people have brought it up, is he a one-hit wonder in the right offense on a really good team? Justin Jefferson's there. Chase is there, who, like I said,
Chase shows up in a lot of highlights, man.
Yeah, because he should, right? And like I said, he doesn't even come out till next year, but he should be the first receiver off the board next year. Like they have a lot of weapons. They had a really good offense.
There is very good talent around them.
But even then, there's been a lot of teams that have had really good talent that didn't come anywhere close to putting up, almost 5,700 yards, 60 TDs, and only 16 interceptions. You still got to make the passes, no matter how good the pocket is, no matter how good your receivers are, right? Like you can, if you overthrow, it doesn't matter how good your receiver is. If you throw them by 10 yards, it doesn't matter, right? So it's that was who was it? Marquise Lee, I think it was, on the Jaguars when he was yelling at Bortles because he couldn't get him the ball. So it's just the little stuff he seems to know. But the one thing a lot of people are asking are, it was a one-hit wonder, and the guy's going to be 24. He's an older prospect.
He is a senior. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, you did. So, but it's one of those things. It's as a senior at 24.
And he didn't start. He never got a sniff. Like I said, he transferred from Ohio State.
He had
a couple of throws.
But on Ohio State, he was behind Dwayne Haskins, who at the time was the best quarterback in Ohio State history.
And what is it, Barrett? Was it RJ Barrett?
No, RJ Barrett's the guy that plays basketball.
The Canadian. But there was another. Was it Barrett though? Didn't they have a quarterback, Barrett?
I can't remember. Maybe something like that.
Recently, anyways. But yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so it's
Canadian,
our Canadian boy. Yeah,
slinging it up there.
Just slinging up there, different kind of slinging. But yeah, so he's obviously it's good, but people do question because, like I said, Sam Darnold essentially is the same age as Joe Burrows, and he's been in the league for. Actually, he's younger. He's been in the league for 2 years.
I don't think it's a knock. Like really, like I said, I've always said this.
Yeah.
The more snaps, like it just adds to his experience. But his numbers were crazy this year, which is awesome. Which has never really been seen before in college. And I'm very interested to see what he can do in the big league. I don't think he's a 1-year wonder. He's a smart football player.
How'd you think
he's got a pretty good arm? I wouldn't say it's a rocket compared to some of his counterparts here coming out.
Yeah.
He's a really smart football player. He's fun to watch. Always makes the right decision, it seems.
How do you find
he also tends to lead the receivers?
How do you find he is against a blitz or a rush or something like that?
He stands in there. He's tough.
Yeah.
Like he's taking it right on the chops. I like that, and he's hit his receiver in the stride. He's really good under pressure. He's a good football player. Period.
I think I heard an interview the other day, and they were talking about.
He can run, and he does run.
Yeah, I heard it was one of those things that another one of his teammates kind of said, is Joe tough? And he said, yeah, like he's tough as hell. Like when he runs, the guy doesn't believe in sliding, which that was Andrew Luck.
That's a big mistake if you're in
the
NFL.
You gotta teach him,
Ask
eventually.
RG3 how that worked out for him.
RG3, ask Andrew Luck, right? Andrew Luck was
never the same.
Yeah,
that line was horrible in front of Andrew Luck forever though. Then he got good and he retired. Ironic.
So it's one of those things. It's you hope that he goes to a team that can kind of manage him well. I think, since he has weapons, obviously they have AJ Green, they got Tyler Boyd, they got. I don't know about John Ross, but John Ross is good. And they're also getting...
They got a stud running back. I'm trying to think
Mixon,
of his name.
Joe Mixon.
Oh, yeah, he's above average.
Yeah, but they they drafted a tackle last year in the first round, and they didn't... I don't think he played at all last year. So this year they're essentially almost getting 2 first-round picks. So that should be... then you got a guy blocking for, your franchise quarterback right there off the bat. So like I said, hopefully they can treat him well.
People forget that the Bengals went out and added a couple guys in free agency, and I think that's going to help them out. So everything they add on the draft here, the Bengals, they're going to be more competitive than people think.
No, and he's, like I said, he's kind of that old school throwback, kind of that tough guy. Everyone said, when he came in, because the job wasn't his to take when he came in last year, right? They kind of said, look, if you're going to come, he went in and he said, look, I don't care if I'm the starting quarterback, if I'm the backup quarterback. I'm going to play for you guys, and if whatever I have to do to make you guys better, even if it's just, getting you better in practice, I'll do that. I'm here to help you guys win. I want to see the team. So he really, all the interviews I've heard from other people and stuff, because I've really been diving into him too, is that this guy is a real deal. He's a leader, and he really sets a good example in the clubhouse. So,
well, and they beat good teams. Like Trevor Lawrence is, everybody's going to want him next year. Anyways, plays for Clemson. He won the year before. But in a national title game, what people forget is that Lawrence and the boys, so Clemson got out ahead, and they were not up by just 10. I think they were up they could have been up 17-3. Don't quote me on that, but they were up.
Something like that, yeah.
And Joe Burrow and the boys, like, they were never phased. He just kept believing it, and then he just chipped away at it. They scored again.
And then they got ahead.
Became a theme, it just became a theme.
And then
he was dominant.
It almost turned, right? Almost switched, who was.
Not to say that Clemson played back, because Trevor Lawrence's numbers were pretty good too. And you could see where he started to play action. Not play action. What is it? Quarterback spread?
Yeah.
Or quarterback option. So he started running a little bit more. But and he's a beauty too, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They just ran into a buzzsaw, right? Like they were just so good over there.
Well-oiled machine, man. That was a hell of a game.
So it was good. It's like I said, I think any last parting thoughts about him? I said I think the guy's going to be.
He really does he really does everything well.
What is
he's
some
a great
knocks
leader.
on him?
Like, I really do like. He's like, how they say about Matty Ice, they call him there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I really like that nickname for Burrows too. Like, he's just calm, cool, collective. It doesn't matter if they're up by 10 or up by 20 or if they're down by 20. He doesn't seem phased, which is going to be huge, I think, in the next level.
What do you think he has to improve on in the next level if you had to pick?
Okay, well, one thing that stood out to me is sometimes, when you're throwing the back shoulder passes for a touchdown or in the NFL for a big gainer, you got to throw the guy open.
Yep.
Sometimes he'll put the receiver in vulnerable positions. Like, he doesn't there's lots of examples where he gets that back shoulder pass, but there's lots of examples where he could kill his receiver in the NFL. And if there wasn't rule changes in the college league there the last couple of years, he would have killed a couple of his receivers. So, I just mean, he was on the run or in distress a little bit, and he throws it up to make a play. But you got to, you know what I mean? When he does have time, and you can't throw that, you got to throw that back shoulder because the receiver's going to get dinged up. Safety's going to kill him.
No, that makes sense. Like I said, you can't.
That was one thing that stood
You can't lead them into trouble like that. No, it's good. We're gonna move on. We'll move. Like I said, I think he's the obvious choice for number one. We'll probably get.
Well, I think the Bengals can't. I think anybody who gets them is going to be happy, but I think the Bengals can't go wrong. Don't call me or don't.
It's one of those things.
I like Andy Dalton, but it is what it is.
It's so hard if you don't take him, and he turns out to be as good as some people say he can be. Then you're living that down forever. Right?
Andy Dalton's good, people, but they never. For some reason it just didn't work. They never got past. They never won a game in the playoffs.
He's getting older, right?
Maybe Andy Dalton goes somewhere else. Maybe he backs up this year in the Bengals, but maybe he goes somewhere else and he tears it up.
Yeah.
The NFL's funny that way, but
yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing him wear the stripes. So
we're gonna move on to my first pick. Not first overall. This is just my first guy I'm highlighting. Let's make that serious. So we've kind of mentioned this guy a couple times over the last couple because we've been talking about. I think I've had an offensive line prospect every podcast so far.
Every other one?
No, I think it's everyone. So I kind of picked the last big one, which is Mekhi Becton, the offensive tackle out of Louisville. So this guy, he was ranked as a decent offensive line prospect coming in, and then he tested. So the guy's 6'7", 365 pounds. He ran the 40 in 5.1 seconds. His bench press wasn't as good as a lot of people were hoping. I think I was listening to something earlier. He was hoping that he was going to be over 30 because he was hoping to be like a freak at every part of the combine, and he only put up 23. So in comparison, a couple of guys, Andrew Thomas, who is my favorite offensive tackle in the draft, he ran in 5'2", so he's 50 pounds lighter than Becton, and ran 0.1 slower. He put up 21 bench presses, and then Wirfs, who's the guy I highlighted last week, he ran it actually in 4.85. He put up 24 bench presses, so one more than he did, and he's 6'5" and 320. So he's right there, but like for the extra weight he carries, like to run that fast was impressive. And he's probably
shows how much of an athlete he is.
And he's probably the leanest. He's probably the leanest 365 I've ever seen. Like he doesn't look like, you know, your tip, you know, he doesn't look like that old style, you know, offensive lineman. This guy is a big boy, and he knows how to move. So he is a project, though. So that's one of the things that I think a lot of teams, when they're looking at drafting this guy, they really have to look back at themselves and say, look, this guy isn't a guy that's going to step in right day one and be an amazing.
I think he can play day one, but I think he's just raw.
Like, I think he is too. He's just
he doesn't
super
get the
raw.
Shine, right? He doesn't get the shine.
They have to decide.
Really
they have to decide if they believe internally, and that's what a lot of these teams have to do. They have to like look back in themselves. You know, do we have the offensive line coach that can develop this guy? If I don't think so, if we think that our guy is good, but you know, look at the track record, maybe we haven't developed the guy is so great,
crazy talent.
But he has a lot of things going for him.
I watched highlights, man. He like literally took this Clemson linebacker and threw him 5 yards down the field on this run play.
So it
was mind-boggling.
He reminds you of that kid in like high school, or even before high school, playing football, that is just the bigger, more dominant kid. You can tell, right? He hit his growth spurt early. He's already 6'2". He's already up to 220 pounds or something, right? Like he's already a bigger kid in high school, and he's just out there mauling guys because he can. And that's what this guy does. So he's got so much power that he can do stuff like that, but he doesn't have a whole lot of technique. So a lot of it's just he relies.
He improves on that technique a little bit, man, and they coach him up a little bit.
And that's where he's at the upside, right?
Like, he's a mauler in the run game.
When you look at it,
he's not that bad in the pass game. It just means, like you said, it's all about technique.
Yeah, and a lot of it, he's just gonna get to that next level. And like I said, that's why you really have to look back at yourself. Like he has the most upside. Like he could be better than Andrew Thomas.
He could be the best out of this.
He could be best out of all of them. Or he could be, you know, one of the comparables I brought up was, you know, another freak offensive lineman that came out and was drafted high was Greg Robinson. You know, came out of Auburn. The guy was the same thing. He was 6'5", 332. The guy ran 4.92 in the 40, put up 32 reps on the bench press. He was an absolute freak, and he was a mauler, and he looked the exact same as Becton did. You know, he just would grab guys, and he was just so much more physically, you know, empowering over these guys. He was just throwing them in college. And like I said, obviously Greg Robinson never turned out to be what, you know, the Rams hoped he'd be. They took him second overall. But it's just, you hope that he's not that. You hope he's more Orlando Pace or some of those other guys that have been these big freak athletes, you know, that were way bigger. Orlando Pace is obviously the Hall of Famer, right? Like he played at
a high level his whole career.
And that's the thing, right? So, but he had the option. So watching Becton on a couple other different things too. So he, you know, in Louisville, they didn't have your typical offense. So they didn't have your typical, blocking, pass sets and stuff. They ran a lot. They did a lot of action stuff. They did a lot of rollout, like moving pass sets. So you didn't really get to see him kind of drop back, take that 2 or 3 steps pass to his left, right? Pass block in the proper way. You know, you did get to see him kind of move laterally, you know, side to side, which was nice to see because he actually could do that.
He makes it look easy for 300. What'd you say?
365 pounds. Like the guy's a monster.
And when he moves his feet and they're actually in pass, like in shotgun, man. Like you said, man, he is graceful. He doesn't look out of place. Like it's crazy to think a guy who's that size and that tall.
He's just got to get some other things together, right? Like, you know, the guys I find sometimes when the guys are kind of rushing at him.
He doesn't use his arms, right? Would you agree with that?
No, and that's the thing, right? He's got to get
use his arms.
He's got to get that first punch. Yeah, he's got to get that punch out. He's got to, you know,
extend his arms, right? He's always got them bent.
So it's one of those things.
Man, obviously, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm glad we agree on some things here.
We're doing pretty good this episode so far.
It's nice to agree.
Once in a while. So he's just like I said, like when you see him against a smaller guy, right? Not that they're small, but you know, like a 250-pound linebacker or 240-pound linebacker that you'd see in college. or a corner. Like there was a corner, I can't remember who it was against. Maybe it was Notre Dame or someone else. But anyways, he just buried this guy, like grabbed him, threw him like 5 yards, and then like gave him another shot at it as he was down, just to be like, don't ever try to like get by me again. That's probably not your best idea. But he did. The only thing I find he even like another good thing about him, and like I'll get to what I kind of didn't think that I liked about him so much, but he will get to the second level. So he'll give the first shot, and then he'd move up and grab the linebacker, or he'd move up and grab somebody else. Like that was one of the things I didn't like about one of the other guys. I can't remember now.
Was it last week? It was last
week.
It
wasn't Wirth. It was it was Tristan Wirth. That was my thing with Tristan Wirth.
Exactly. I'm gonna go out and say he plays whistle to whistle, where Wirth you figured did not.
No, and that was my one issue with Tristan Wirth at Iowa, was that I found sometimes he didn't quite pick up the guy next the next level where the other guys did. This guy, he would move on to them.
Kind of blocked the one guy, and this kind of.
And sometimes the pass rush doesn't come to your side, and you stand there and you're looking like a retard because you're out there by yourself. So it's it is what it is. But
I don't know about you, but when I played football, man, I loved to hit guys. I just loved it. Kickoff, a guy go to block me, and I'd kill him anyways, just because I could. You know? Just teaching him a lesson. He'd be better the next year for it. That's the way I look at it.
That's the way they're gonna learn, right? So
exactly.
So one I found that.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah, so like I said, a lot of the pass sets and stuff, they are just these rolling pass sets, right? So they're almost the entire offensive line's moving over 4 or 5 yards to the left or the right to kind of set it up, and then they have a tight end and a back blocking the defensive end on that side. So it's a lot of double teams, it's a lot of movement and stuff. And Louisville didn't have the greatest offense, so it was harder to kind of evaluate him. But like I said,
they lost Lamar, right? So that young fellow that took over for him.
Yeah, and they actually ran like two quarterbacks for parts of last year too. So I found once in a while when you did see him in the actual like pass sets, because I think it was against Notre Dame, they actually had some like straight drop back, block your guy straight up type of thing. It was later on. It was later on in the game in the fourth quarter, but he did get. I was surprised that he didn't handle the rush at him as good, which you see sometimes in these big guys. He almost seemed to be caught off guard, some inside moves, and maybe he was just tired. Right? Maybe it's it's a fourth quarter, it's a long game. Maybe he was getting winded. It's hard to say, but it was kind of stood out to me that I finally actually was starting to see like some actual pass block sets. And he was looking a little worse for wear.
So that's one of the negatives you're talking about?
Yeah, like I said, like if you're gonna coach him up, and you can, don't get me wrong, like I said.
Because I noticed when he was in action, like exactly what you just said. I'm just gonna add to it. So like you said, like he is actual passing down, and they're actually passing, so it's traditional, and he's got good feet. But his arms are bent a lot.
T-Rex arms, right?
Yeah, T-Rex arms.
He lets the guy get into him. No,
because he's got long arms, but it doesn't look bad. But it's just like, why give the guy the opportunity or the sniff?
That guy should never.
The difference between somebody beating you and not.
Well, that's the thing, right? You get, and I was
use your length to your advantage, right?
I was listening to an interview earlier, and they were talking to him about, who's he excited to see, and what one player, coming out against him, in the pros is going to be like kind of almost starstruck to see. And he's like, if Aaron Donald ever lines up against me, he goes, obviously he's not, typically lining out on the left end, but if he ever does line up against me, like that might be a thing where I'm like, wow, like that's Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald would eat him alive right now. And Aaron Donald eats everybody alive, right? Like that's part of Aaron Donald.
Well, he eats Pro Bowlers alive.
Yeah, so because he's just so good technically.
Enough said.
But there's going to be a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of good, guys out there. You're going against the San Francisco 49ers defensive line. You got all these, crazy guys over there, Nick Bosa, all these other guys that are
first-round talents. All first rounds, really, except the one they just traded.
They traded Buckner. DeForest
Buckner?
I think it was Buckner.
Because they signed Armstead or whatever.
Yeah, they signed Eric Armstead, and they still got Solomon Thomas, who they got.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I don't think they will. I think they're going to take a receiver there at 13, but who knows?
Yeah. So, like I said, guy's got all the talent in the world, and if he can put it together, it's going to be impressive because he's just.
Can we both agree though, like more to like than dislike?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, he's got all kinds of upside, all kinds.
Personally, I think he could easily, with the right system, like the right coaches get their hands on him, he could easily be best tackle, and he can be dominant in the league for years, for a decade, for sure.
And maybe that's, like I said, I haven't been the biggest. To me, he's probably the fourth, my fourth offensive tackle on my board.
But he's got crazy talent. Like he throws grown men.
Oh, he does.
Out of the way, like nothing.
That's it. Like you almost think you're watching like a high school tape, right? Of some of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. That is a good way to put it, right there. Exactly.
But he, like I said, you get him in the right spot. I don't know. Like I said, somewhere's like a Jacksonville.
I hate to say it. I know me and you like kind of stressing the lineman, but he is kind of it's kind of fun to watch his tape. Like to see him move a guy.
It's one of those things. If you just took the top 10, and then I say this all the time, but if you just take the top 10 highlights of him, he would be your number one overall for the offensive lineman.
It's hilarious.
It wouldn't because you're just seeing him bury guys. Like it's just
he laid on one guy, man. He just patty caked him and laid on him, and I was like, oh man, that's not a good feeling there.
Not a good feeling at all.
When you get to the tape room on Monday.
Well, that's it, right? Like all the coaches are definitely giving you the hey, how do you do? So you want to talk about somebody on the other end of the ball, though. Somebody that he would bury, and that's because he's
he's a DB,
he's a DB, poor guy. But who do you want to talk about for your second guy?
I got CJ Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. He's a junior. Now, I did last week. It was last week or last episode.
Yeah,
I
did Jeff Okudah. Yep.
They're similar in ways, but I'm going to tell you right now, straight up, my honest opinion. Love Jeff Okudah more.
And I think that's universal, right? Like it's.
Well, yeah, but it's just me. Like, no, there's lots to like about CJ Henderson. Don't get me wrong. So here's another guy. Where did I write down his height and stuff? Maybe I didn't. Apparently I didn't. That's great. But he's 6'1" for sure.
He's 6'1", 204.
Oh yeah, 6'1", 204. Yeah. Yeah, I see it now. I got it written down. But anyway, so he's got length to him as well. His arms aren't as long as Okudah's. But he makes the best of it. Another cornerback who will come up and make a tackle, and he mostly wraps, which is a big deal with me because when you're a cornerback or a safety and you come up and try to hockey check a guy, that's no good, man. Because you can knock them back 5 yards, but you don't bring them down and you fall down, and then he takes off for 15. So if you knock him
down, some of these running backs, you get Todd Gurley out there, he's not going down from a hockey check, right?
Exactly. Well, most of the NFL, they're big boys. Even the smaller backs in the NFL are deceiving as hell and stronger than hell. J.D. Drew, great example of that. He was a thick, short little beeper. But all right, so he had 26 solo tackles. He had 0 interceptions this year, but he had pass knocks down I call them pass break. Well, yeah, but I call it pass breakups. People. Yeah. So he deflected 11 balls, huge, just as good as an interception. Honestly. And here's the thing I really liked about his game. He had 1 sack this year. The previous year, 2018, he had 3 sacks, and he had 2 interceptions. And they played him. He played a lot when he was a freshman as well, but he was in nickel, and he looked the part. So that's a little bit different than Jeff Okudah.
And maybe he is a nickel, right? Because I'm just looking here back in 2017 in his his first year.
I'm just gonna say right now he can play wide.
Well, he went and had 4 interceptions back then, right? So,
but he's very versatile.
He went from 4 to 2, and maybe it's part of the thing is you're getting less people throwing your way when people start knowing, right? Like if they know.
Well, when he got a little bit further on, exactly. But he had when he was playing nickel and he was a freshman. He had good cornerbacks there. You know what I mean? He had good help there. Like Florida's known for always being a good defensive team. So anyway, so where am I going with this? Okay, so
sorry, took you off.
It's all right, man. This is what it's all about. So like I just said, Jeff Okudah, he didn't get the opportunity to blitz like this guy, but Henderson made the the best of it. Like, he's really deceiving, and he's good at coming off the edge. That is very valuable in the NFL. If you're a safety or if you're cornerback, it's very underrated. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you people watch the Eagles. Jim Schwartz is their defensive coordinator. He's great for bringing safeties and cornerbacks and stuff. It's awesome.
You just want to disguise the blitz, right?
Super good blitzer, and he gets there. And if he doesn't get there, he gets his hands up, which is really smart. So he'll just throw that timing off, or you know what I'm saying. Like, he'll throw the timing off, or the pass will just not be where it should be. So his boys can make up for it. You know if that makes any sense at all.
It does.
He's got good speed, which I enjoy. You can leave him alone on the island. So by that I mean he doesn't need help over the top. He's got really good speed. He's on the hip of the receiver. I noticed I also wrote down that he's really good at undercutting the passes or interceptions. That's not even just interceptions. Like I said, he had 11 pass breakups, so he's very good at undercutting the receiver and getting his hands out there. So I wanted to emphasize that. Pretty good in zone. He also had a pick off a zone, which I was impressed with. Doesn't have his eyes in the backfield as much as I'd like, but for the most part he does. Not all the time though, so you can see why he's not like number one that way. But he's definitely up there at number one. Mm-hmm. What else do I want to highlight? He's not afraid to. Pretty good in zone, yeah. Pretty good tackler. I already mentioned that. What else do I want to say about the guy? He hell of a competitor. Here's another guy that whistle to whistle, which I really do think is a big part. Like, you want a guy you don't want to take that chance. You see in the NFL nowadays where it's a receiver drops the ball and a guy picks it up and runs to the end zone and you're like, what is he doing? You're better off doing that. Like, it just shows that, sometimes you can't hear the whistle. You're playing in Seattle, you're playing in New England, like, you know what I mean? Or you're playing in Arrowhead and the crowd is just that like noisy. So I really enjoy watching this guy. Like I said, Jeff Okudah, though, there's a reason why he's number one.
Yeah, and this guy, right? He had like some of his best defensive games. When it came to like batting down passes and stuff. He had three pass defenses. 3 pass defenses against LSU, 3 against Auburn. Like, he had a lot of good stuff. He's that new age. And
he held up really good against Joe Burrows, and because he had Chase a lot.
Yeah,
which I was really surprised. Well, he had both of them, but he did really well. Like, obviously they caught some balls on him, but that's a juggernaut offense, right?
Well, and he's got good speed. He ran a 4.39. So he's got good speed that you want to see. He's got 6'1", so he's got a little bit of height to him too, which is something.
He's lengthy too, but he's not as long as I find.
No, exactly. But he like you said, he's just so good at breaking up those passes. Does he have to work a little bit on his hands? Maybe a little bit, but. Sometimes.
I don't know if I mentioned that. Pretty good impress.
Sometimes if you're going for that interception instead of the breakdown, bat down, sometimes you just miss. You whiff on it, right? Sometimes you miss it. It's hard. It's harder to get 2 hands out than one.
Play. He does go for the big play, which you can respect if you make it. But like I said, like 11, I can't stress that enough. 11 deflections, and there's probably more than that. That's huge. Just as good as an interception,
Yeah, and even though I know he
like you said earlier, it seemed like a lot of a lot of teams went away from him, looking the other way. So can't stress that enough. He's doing something right.
He's got a couple he's got good hips. He turns well, lots of stuff. I think he's got to get a little bit strong. I think he's got to get a little bit stronger just for the tackling. I know he doesn't really shy away from the tackling, but sometimes I think. If he doesn't get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, I think he's going to have a harder time.
He doesn't seem as willing?
Well, I think he's just going to have a harder time tackling against the bigger guys, against men instead of college guys, right? So it's just little things like that. But other than that, he's good, right? He's got good.
He is good.
Eye discipline. He said he's
good instincts, really good instincts. He's pretty good in zone too, so that's good. He can play more than one scheme, which is great.
Yeah, and even when he was playing against the good teams like LSU, he played some good teams over there at Florida, and he wasn't getting killed, and that's where you want to see. It's one thing to see a guy
compete his ass off, and you can respect that. Like when a guy's competing his ass off and giving you 110, like your teammates just love you. Your coach loves you.
It's one thing to have crazy numbers against someone like Vanderbilt or some of these other South Carolina,
South Carolina, they're rebuilding, but they were good earlier.
But you got some of these teams out there that they're just not on the same level, But then
exactly, I get what
when you see them step up against Auburn, LSU, Georgia, Florida State, even Miami. Miami's doing better this year. You have all these teams that they're on the up and up, and you stood there right with them. That's what you want to see out of these guys, right? So I don't care if you're putting up the the old thing. The old thing from longest yard was
last year too. I don't know if I mentioned it, but he does have the capability, if he makes an interception, to bring it to the house. Yeah. Last year he scored 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs for touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw that out there. The guy's an athlete.
You want that big playability, right? Like that's what all these teams want nowadays. So that's now to a guy that I don't think they ever played against each other.
I want to clarify myself too. Like I know I said he doesn't look in the backfield at the quarterback all the time.
Yeah. But that's because
he does a lot. Like he does a lot. Like I feel like Jeff Okudah just does it more. Like he's just a little bit like if there's a grade, he's a little bit higher. That's all I'm saying, people. He's really good. Like CJ Henderson. If you get your hands on him, you're probably going to be happy. Like I don't want to make it sound
especially because you're not going to be spending a top 5 on him, right? He's probably going to fall to. I didn't look to see where they have him going.
He could go top 10. If not, he'll probably be top 15. Somewhere low on a corner. They're valuable.
Yeah, well, let's say
if you pick him in the top 15, you're not under the. You're not batshit crazy. Like you're getting a good guy, good player.
Yeah,
and he's a playmaker. Like he's a little underrated that way. Like he does seem to read coverages, and so he must be good in the film room. But anyways, I'm not gonna speculate on that. So what do you think? Do you like him or what?
No, I think he's good. Like I said, he's
really good. Yeah,
I think he's the second best, right? Like that's kind of the best way to look at it.
You know what? It kind of hurt him, probably, in my opinion. Me doing him this week too, is that I did Okudah last week, and like I told you, it just seemed like he's always looking in the backfield, and every damn pass is contested, which I love. Like his hand was just always out. But I did like I said, a little bit of like an edge in a couple things. Like Okudah seemed to be a little more aggressive when it comes to bubble screens, and he was able to get off shed blocks a little bit better, a lot better.
Yeah, I see one draft here. He's going to the Cowboys at 17. Just from
I hope for his sake he doesn't go to the Cowboys. So I'm not going to cheer for him.
The Cowgirls.
That's right. America's team. What have the America's team won lately? Diddly do, boy.
Listen, not everybody can be the stupid freaking Patriots.
Jared Stidham's going to show the world, boy.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think he goes in the first round. I just don't know where. I think probably more of in that mid to later, but I guess we'll wait and see.
You know where I'd love to see him go? Just going to throw a team out there, Minnesota.
They could use him. They they got rid of Xavier Rhodes, right? So
Cowboys could use him. That's for sure. They could, but I think the Cowboys. Well, I don't know what they could go receiver. Hard to say with the Cowboys. They could go a lot of different ways. They could use a receiver. They really could use a corner, and they really could use a safety.
And a new owner. We're gonna move on. I have my second pick. Who actually, depending on how it goes, and if there's trades, he might be the second pick overall. Not to Washington, I wouldn't think, but my second.
I hope not.
Is Tua, the quarterback out of Alabama. Everyone knows him. Everyone knows Tua. The big thing that everyone's been talking about, and I think it would have been more of a conversation without the injury, but he did have a pretty significant injury. He had a dislocated right hip with a posterior tabular wall fracture. That's the fancy definition. Do I know what that means? Nope. Sounds like it's something that it really messed up his hip.
I'm just gonna go there and say that sounds really fucking painful.
Yeah, does not sound good. So, and then some people say, well, he had, not anything big, but he had 2 high ankle sprains. He had one in 2018 on his left ankle. He had one on his right ankle. That was a high ankle sprain. So little stuff, right? Not the end of the world.
That stuff there doesn't concern me at all. His hip does.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it nowadays, before you dive into this here, if you think the guy can play 7 good years, God, and he's your guy, take him. Like, maybe you win a championship in 7 years. Like Big Ben won in his rookie year. It's been done before, people. Sometimes you're just missing the quarterback.
Yep.
If he's your guy, take him. Continue on, Eric. I won't interrupt here.
No, that's fine. It's like I said, that's the big that's the big question with him, right? Like, and a lot of people are gonna have that question about him. So, watching film on him earlier, I'd obviously watched Tua a little bit. Seen a lot of highlights, but I kind of really dove in today, and I kind of went back and watched the Clemson game he played against. I watched him against LSU this year, trying to see him against the higher end competition. I checked him out against 1 or 2 other teams. I can't remember who they were off the top of my head, but so a couple things. He might have the nicest deep ball out of all the quarterbacks, just for like where he can put it. Like he's putting some of these plays on a line, and he's mobile.
Dropping dimes is what you're saying. Dropping dimes.
Yeah, he's mobile. He can get out, which some people then worry. If he gets out there, if he's running around, can he handle taking the punishment? Which is that's the problem, right? We get to sit back and watch 2 quarterbacks that they get hit because they get sacked once in a while, but they also knew how to get rid of the ball, and they didn't take unnecessary punishment, right? Like between Tommy and Phil.
Knew how to duck down, right?
Yeah, right. You're not taking those those open field hits when you're running down the field. They're different, right? And you're trying to slide, and guys are taking your head off anyways because, well, screw it, I'll make them pay. So it's one of those things. He's good. Like one of the things you kind of mentioned about Joe Burrows earlier was that you wanted to see him throw that back shoulder pass, and
just a hair more.
And Tua does it. He does it so good. He would just find that way to find Jerry Jeudy or all these guys that were on that team. Find that back shoulder throw, and he would just.
Sometimes you got to throw the receiver open, right? Like.
And that's it.
Because what the NFL is like. Sometimes you or not even college too. You got that just a hell of a cornerback and like just tight coverage, and you throw this back shoulder to give your guy a chance. Right?
Yeah, you giving your guy some space, right? So he's good when it comes to throwing the back shoulder. A lot of their stuff, and this is just college football, right? So this is why a lot of guys when they're coming out of college, they kind of mention, while they, this guy was in a pro style offense, and that's a big thing for a lot of people because you actually get to see him in typical under center, 3 steps, let it rip, whatever. He didn't do a whole lot of that. He did a little bit of it.
He did some though. But
a lot of it
under the center, right?
Yeah.
Some.
But a lot of it was run pass option, different sets when it came to that. Which the RPO, it's an easier way. It helps a lot of these guys, right? Because they're looking at the rush, decide if they're gonna let leave it in the gut of the running back, or whatever, or am I gonna have to chuck it? And it's usually there's the way that they're set up. A lot of like one of their favorite plays that they ran that I kind of picked up after a while is they have 2 receivers on the left side, both running slants inside, and they have one guy running up up the side on like a streak, and he'll do an RPO and usually hit the guy the first slant guy, if you can catch that guy off guard, because a lot of times you're going to have the cornerback linebackers, everything kind of biting in on that on that potential run, so that they kind of gets them off that. They ran that a ton, and so a couple things I didn't like is I didn't find that he didn't pick up the blitz very well. So I just found like when he got into trouble, with blitzes or anything else, he almost thought that I can get this guy. I can get rid of this before that guy gets here. I can see him coming off that
right. So kind of out athlete the guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, out athlete the guy, or even just think that, look, I can, by the time I get that ball, that guy's not going to be quick enough. Like there was multiple ones where guys are just lining and you can tell that he's going to be coming unprotected off the edge. And he doesn't, and maybe he wasn't allowed over there with Nick Saban, but he wasn't switching up the coverages or checking out to the.
That's right. Not all guys got that clearance. Yeah,
and
sure.
A lot of times you don't, right? And sometimes it's on the center. Sometimes the center's got to be the guy to realize that. It all depends on what offense it is, right? That's why in the NFL they say one of the best things you can do for your young quarterback is get him a good center. A good experienced center that can kind of take care of the line for him. So it's one less thing.
The Jets used to do that with Sanchez, remember?
Yeah. Yep. So
what's it, Nick Mangold?
Nick Mangold.
Wasn't that the center for the Jets?
I think so. He was either center
or a beauty. He was a beauty.
He was on the offensive line. I know that for sure.
I hate the Jets people when I'm
yeah, look at that.
You gotta recognize talent.
Yeah, exactly. So I said that was one thing I just kind of found like it was just kind of odd, but and like I said, if he's getting pressured, he's throwing, off his back foot, which you don't want to see, kind of just hoping that his arm. The other thing I found that was kind of odd, but when he was running sometimes, he'd get out or he'd be open, and instead of just planting his feet when he had lots of time, there's no rush close to him, he'd almost do like that, throwing like both feet off the ground. And you just can't get the same power, can't get the same torque, can't get the same accuracy.
Kind of like a leaping hove,
just a leafing, whatever, and it's like plant your feet. And a lot of them were, passes that were incomplete because they weren't accurate. So that's a technique thing.
Like you said, though, no feet in the ground. That's huge. Right?
You gotta plant that feet. And yes, guys like Aaron Rodgers
shoulders aren't square. It's huge. It's huge when you're throwing the ball.
Like I said, and guys with elite arm talent like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, they can get away with that because they're Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. They're that good, they're that talented that they can get away with that stuff. You can't get away with that stuff when you're not at that level yet. And maybe he gets to there, but like I said, it was just one of those odd things. Like you just would hope that he would just plant his feet sometimes. I say because it would be it was just like nobody around him. He's off on the left, off on the right, and he just for whatever reason didn't plant his feet. And it's a mechanics thing, right? Like you gotta coach that guy up to get there. But I said obviously he played against a lot of good teams. He played against Clemson in the championship. He had some good numbers, but he did like that game. He had. He went 22 for 34 for 295 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. A lot of that came at the end. A lot of it was garbage time stats.
For sure.
They weren't even. They were in that game at the very start, and then Clemson just rolled them. Kind of the opposite of what happened to Clemson this year, right? So, and then they played Auburn. He played Auburn. It was terrible against Georgia, not Auburn. He went 10 for 25, 164 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Not what you want to see. And then against LSU. So he played LSU.
That's why, with Georgia, that's why I brought up with Burrows that he torched them. Because they are above average defense.
Really his LSU numbers look really good. He had 418 yards, 4 TDs, 1 pick. But one of the issues on that is that he went 21 for 40. So he was, almost 50%, which isn't great. If you're missing half your throws. There was at least I think there was like 2 passes over like 70 yards. They were just like big bombs. Guy catches it, runs down the side. Nobody can catch him. And that's huge. But, if you have, you take those 2 away, which obviously you can take away big plays in any game, but, you take those away and, your numbers look even worse, right? If you're, you have to lead them and stuff, but if your receiver didn't have the little bit extra speed, or if it's just not where it's supposed to be a little bit, you could have a lot, worse stats.
Disrupted, exactly.
And those are against good teams, right? And that's where you want to see your quarterbacks in the college ranks play their best is against these good teams. And that's why you like a guy like Trevor Lawrence. That's why you like a guy like Joe Burrows. That's why you like a lot of these guys, right? you don't want to measure them against, like I said, I'll say it 100 times. You don't want to see them do it against Appalachian State or, you know, some random
you want
team.
To see them against a team that's close or right there with
them.
That
also is going to have, you know, NFL talent, right? So
exactly.
It's
I'm gonna
good.
chime in here. Like things I like about Tua is, like Eric said, he's got a pretty good arm. He's a crazy athlete, so he can run his way out of anything or buy time. And when the play breaks down, he can make it happen. Eric didn't say that, but he basically said that.
Yeah.
If you watch football, you know, it's exactly what he said. Other things I like, he's a good leader. He's not afraid to take a hit. He'll stand in the pocket and get just wrecked. You can't teach that stuff. That's huge, especially in the NFL. Well, it is in college too, let's be honest. Things I don't like, I don't find a lot of times they'll hit play action. They run the ball so damn good. They got good offensive linemen that they'll run play action and all this stuff. And his first read, like I mentioned this to Eric before we got on the air. His first read will be wide open. He'll smoke it. So I find compared to some other quarterbacks in his draft class, he didn't scan the field or have to read for that second and third option as much as like a Herbert or Burrows did. And so that's to me that's a little bit of a flag. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. There's a lot to like about Tua. There's a lot of times he did hit his second read or his third guy. Like Eric said, you know, but just like I don't want to just say for him, but like a lot of quarterbacks, when you're on the run, you don't have your techniques, so you're flushed out of the pocket and you let it buck. Was he inaccurate? You're damn right he was. He missed some wide open guys, or he missed some guys that got open for him. Yes, and not by a little bit, by a lot. But you know, who am I to say the guy's running for his life? You know, he's running towards the sideline, and he's thrown across his body sometimes, and he's, you know, that's no excuses. So yeah, there's an area like Eric just pointed out could be improved, but there's a lot of you cannot teach the leadership. This guy came in the championship game and they're down by 20 and took over for Hurst. And led Bama back against a very good Clemson team.
And I find that's one thing about us. Yeah, and I find one thing about us is we're going to tell you guys exactly how we feel. We're not just going to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, this guy's the greatest thing, and we'll give you 20 points about what he does great and leave out the other stuff. We want you guys to know, if you don't have the time to go watch the film, or maybe you just want some cliff notes, right? So you want to just, it's easier to listen to a podcast as you're driving, or you're out for a walk, which a lot of people are doing right now, or whatever it is. We want to give you guys those cliff notes so you can say, okay, so this is what I can expect out of this guy when I look at him at the draft. If I want to sit down and watch the draft, next Thursday night, and I see that he gets taken by whoever, maybe it's your team, maybe it's my team, maybe it's whoever's team, right? What can we expect? And for this guy, for Tua, and for a lot of these other guys, right? So it's He's got a lot to go. I find though,
Do you like Tua? You never told me.
I do like Tua. I did come away with a couple more questions than when I had when I went in.
Me too today, which is random.
Yeah,
I really did like Tua, but
because you just remember a lot of the highlights, a lot of the big plays, exactly. Right? And you remember the big games, and you remember a lot of these, you just see a lot of the stats. And
I want to say with Tua, you know what I like about Tua, and he's fearless. Like I said that about Joe Burrows. I don't know if I said that about Justin Herbert.
You probably didn't. Justin Herbert's not fearless.
I can tell you about Love. Me and Eric haven't done him yet, but he's fearless too. But I feel as though he doesn't got the talent. He had 2 new coach regimes in his last 2 years. Yeah. That's huge. I don't care what level you're at. You get a coach change. That's huge.
You're changing systems.
Especially the college. You committed to this guy. We're running this offense, which could suit you. And then, Eric could be a running quarterback, and I could be a pocket guy. And all of a sudden, they want Eric to be the pocket guy. You are who you are, people.
Hey, so, I'm an athlete out there, guys. I'm just telling you.
He's an athlete.
I'm more of a scrambling quarterback, but I make sure my feet are set. So,
no, he doesn't.
No.
His feet are shut, but his shoulders are all right.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I played defense. Let's be honest here.
Let's
This boy was never made to play offense. Maybe offensive line. I played some flag football. Played some offensive line.
Man, we just put you at fullback and just hand me the ball.
There you go.
Just lead block that. Just give me a lane, Murray. Just give me a lane.
The power eye.
That's right, boy.
So yeah, we'll move on from Tua. Like I said, I think he's gonna make somebody happy.
So overall, yeah, okay. So overall, give me your thoughts.
So I think he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be a franchise changer. You know, I think he has what it takes to be a starting quarterback at the next level. They said it's gonna take some coaching, but that's all these guys, right? You know, no matter who you are.
All right. On a personal note, since Miami's in front of you, do you want Miami? If you guys stay, let's say you guys stay pat, they stay pat, and he's there. Okay, so Miami doesn't take him. Are you happy? You get him? Is that your guy? If you're going to take a quarterback,
if I take a quarterback, it'd be him.
Okay, so you'd rather him over Herbert?
Over Herbert or Love? Yeah, I'd rather Tua. I think everyone knows my stance is I'd rather just see.
Well, I want to get it out there.
I'd rather see them take an offensive lineman. I'd rather see them take Andrew Thomas, or Jedrick Wills, or
Well, the Chargers could easily get a really good quarterback in the second round too.
Or you just wait till next year. There's gonna be Justin Fields, and I understand that there's a lot of good stuff, but
you like Fields. I don't mind.
Or just either or. I'm just saying there's other options for next year that are coming out. So. What do you think about Tua, though?
I like him. I love his leadership. He's willing to take that hit. There's a lot to like. He's an athlete, period. But he's a leader. Like, when you come in off the bench, you cannot coach that. When you come in off the bench and lead your team back from a big hole and you win a national championship, that shows you got something. You got the football, knowledge. He reminds me a little bit of Brett Favre. He's just not with the bad decisions, but Brett Favre's got, like a gun, but just he's fearless, which I really like. But that also can nip you in the ass. You got to be smart out there. But I like the only other things I don't like I said, really God takes too many damn hits. He shouldn't, needless hits. He's got to slide. He's got to figure it out. Those guys are 3 times your size. Why take that punishment?
Yeah, just
the minor, like you said, ankle injuries and stuff on high ankle sprains. That's not concerning.
Yeah, people make it seem like people make it
him.
Seem like he tore 3 ACLs and he.
No, exactly. There's something he hasn't.
People talk he almost he's a walking body cast, right? But this is the first big one. The high ankle sprains, obviously, it's something you worry about when he does use his mobility to his advantage. But we'll move on.
There's a lot to like. That's all I'll say. There's a really lot to like. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So the team we were going to highlight this week is the Chicago Bears. The Bears. The Bears. They went 8-8 last year under Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Their offense was atrocious. They were the 29th ranked offense in the league, so that makes it only 3 teams that were worse than them. They were the 4th ranked defense, though, so that shows that they obviously have a lot of guys that were stepping up, where the offense wasn't.
Their defense is a good mix of veterans and youth.
Yeah. So they kind of obviously took a step back because the year before they went 12-4, I believe. Had the double doink in the playoffs, which just, killed all the Chicago Bears fans because they thought, here's our year. We're about to, make it to the Super Bowl because our defense is that elite.
I get a kick out of that, though, man. I don't think they're.
Yeah, I didn't think they were either, but a lot of people just were hoping.
Whatever. That's just my opinion, people. Sorry, but the Bears have a pretty good defense. But I'm just, they're hit or miss. They're just.
So
I just don't think they're where they should be. They're not that good.
They got a couple just to highlight their offense, and I think this is how we'll kind of try to do these from now on. But their offense, they got Mitch Trubisky starting at quarterback. They also, and I'll talk about this later, but they brought in Nick Foles to kind of be the backup kind of competition for him.
Back up my ass.
Yeah. Running back, they get David Montgomery, who they took last year. third overall or in the third round. He played, he was good for them. They had Tree Cohen, who he's at, out of the backfield receiving,
They're two of their better players.
Yeah. Tight end.
Nick, I'll chime in there. Nick Cohen can do it all.
Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen.
He's kind of guy. He's more of a James White. Like, get him out in space, throw the ball to him, but he also can take a handoff and break it for you.
It's Tariq Cohen, not Nick Cohen.
What did I say, Nick Cohen?
Yeah, you're thinking.
Tariq Cohen.
I think you're thinking of somebody else. But anyways,
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Come on.
I think you're thinking of somebody that played high school football with Cody Bowman. Shout out Cody Bowman. We almost went a full episode without shouting out Cody, so couldn't have that.
Lord Tundren.
Lord Tundren. At tight end, they got Trey Burton, who is not living up to his big
first
signing.
of all, had a good first year. Last year
had a decent first
last
year.
Remember who his quarterback is. But anyways, I'm just saying last year he did well. For a fact, he didn't stay on the field.
No, he only played 5. He only had 5 games started. 5 games started last year. 8 games in total. Put up 14 receptions for 84 yards and no touchdowns. Yikes! That's a guy that's making $8.5 million. Then you go to receiver. Their head receiver is an absolute stud, Allen Robinson.
Boy.
So he put up 98 receptions for 1,147 yards and 7 TDs. The next highest receiving player on their team was actually Tariq Cohen.
Miller. Was it? Nope. I thought it was Miller.
For receivers, but Tariq Cohen was the next in line. Tariq Cohen put up 79 receptions for 456 yards and 3 TDs. So, and then you had, Miller, and then you had
Miller. I got Miller's numbers. He's got him beat, but that was receiver, like you said.
Yeah. So
those are the top 3, though. Miller was in second place.
Yeah. So it's
less receptions though.
Yeah, and that's the difference, right? You get a lot of screen passes, a lot of stuff out of the backfield for Tariq Cohen, a lot of smaller stuff. On defense,
he's a fun player to watch, though. Great player.
Yeah, and on defense, you got some big guys. You got Roquan Smith, who in his second year looked just as dominant as the first. He's so good, so good.
Shout out to Georgia.
Shout out to Georgia. He was just, for him to fall to them in the first round.
As advertised, if not better, people.
Oh, yeah. And he held out for a bit in his first year. And then you had, what do you got here?
You talking D?
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just looking over the TV and I seen something about a trade, but it's a mock trade. Khalil Mack played, all 16 games last year. The guy had 8.5 sacks.
Disappointing, though. Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah, so he came from a dominant year the year before. It's hard, right? And they had the one thing I will say about the Bears.
Don't get me wrong, 8.5 sacks is not too bad, but
no. And the one thing I'll say
you're paying him the money you're paying him. You're expecting a little more giddy up, but he's probably he's getting double teamed or he's getting that offensive lineman, then he's getting chipped by the running back.
Well,
he's getting a lot of attention. So
that's the thing, right? So you had
too hard of a time, people.
You had him playing all 16 games. But you look along the rest of that defensive line, Akeem Hicks, he only played 5 games last year. He's getting paid a ton of money.
He's a beauty when he plays, I can tell you that.
He is, but I still don't know if he's worth the money. Yeah, Eddie Goldman, he was injured for a lot of the year. You just go down through the list, and there's a lot of guys. Nick Williams, which is a defensive tackle, who's a kind of a journeyman. He had 6 sacks, which was second, last year. Roquan Smith dropped down. He only had 2 sacks last year, 1 interception. So as good as they were still, which is crazy to say about, according to whatever site I was on, they were ranked the 4th best defense. To say that, look, they were actually a disappointment in some ways. And going through the contracts, so they had, they got some big contracts. They had Khalil Mack making 26.6. It's a big number. That's quarterback numbers almost, not quite, but that's big. Allen Robinson's making $15 million, which I think he's worth every penny. For him to be double teamed and having Mitch Trubisky throw to you, and you still end up with 1,150 yards, you're doing pretty good. But then you have Akeem Hicks making 11.8. You get Eddie Goldman making 10.8. You get Trey Burton making 8.5. Buster Screen, the cornerback, who has never been worth the $6 million. So even with Trey Burton, like Trey Burton never had a huge season, to justify making $8.5 million, right? And then it's just they just have a lot of guys.
For sure. But I don't know. Trey Burton come over and he came back up.
Well, he came over and I know that's what Philly used him as, and obviously his most his most famous moment is the Philly special, right? So
no, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, I know he had a bad year this year, but he looked pretty good last year.
But even the year before,
overpay, but you got to stay on the field. But
yeah, but even the year before he played in all 16 games, he had 54 receptions for 569 yards. Not bad numbers, don't get me wrong, but they're not elite numbers.
I still call it, for sure, but I still call it Trubisky's security blanket, and I really think he missed that this year.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So he doesn't.
And they panicked about it too because they go out and sign.
Jimmy Graham.
Exactly, which is like.
So
why did they give him so much money?
So we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into some. Aside from all that, like I said, there's been other guys. Other things that have happened, but I'm going to get into some of the moves that Ryan Pace has done. So the GM for this team, he's been there since 2015, and other than the one good season.
For the record, people, the Bears were 8-8 last year, so 500. So that's no good. It's like kissing your sister. What good
so he's had in five seasons, he's gone 6-10, 3-13, 5-11, 12-4, and 8-8. Obviously it takes time as a GM. Every time, obviously, well, for a while he was consistent. 6-10, 3-13, 5-11. That's all right within the same realm. So he went from having this, and I understand you have to, if you're rebuilding the team, blow it up and start from new, right? They lost Jay Cutler. They got rid of and cutting him, and then he retired. All that other stuff, but you question a lot of things he's done since his tenure. He picks up Jimmy Graham this year. He pays Jimmy Graham, another tight end that's injury prone and everything else. You pay him $8 million. You already have an $8 million tight end on your roster.
He still hasn't done anything since he's really left the Saints.
No, right? Like every year, he's kind of getting paid on reputation more than anything at this point.
I'm pretty sure I've given up on Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. This year they released Taylor Gabriel, the old Falcons receiver. They released him. They released Prince Mukamara, and they released Leonard Floyd. All of them were, going to be due big money. Nick Foles, they trade for him, which is where I'll get into the trades. The trades, they traded Nick Foles, and they gave up a 4th-round draft pick. Not a lot, I understand, but if you look at it, and obviously he's better than Brock Osweiler, but the Browns actually got picks to take Osweiler's contract on, which
fact
I don't understand why you give up. Why are you giving up a 4th-round pick for Nick Foles? Like Nick Foles has
maybe to light a fire underneath
Trubisky's arse. Yeah, maybe,
exactly.
but but is that worth a 4th? Like there's a chance that the Jags might they guess the Jags couldn't cut him just because he'd be worth too much money still, but you couldn't get him for like a 7th. Like just say, look, we'll give you something. Like the Jags don't need him. Like the Jags.
At least the way I look at that, it's still not a loss. If you're not losing a top 3 pick, I know what you're saying. Maybe you can get him for less. Maybe you can get him for more of a bargain. But he's also got intangibles. Was it Maggie the head coach? Is it Nagy or Maggie?
Yeah, Nagy.
Nagy?
No, yeah, N.
Okay, so he's got a really good reputation with him. Knows him pretty good. So, if the Bears, if Nick comes out of the gates and he wins the job, we'll say, hypothetically, and they're killing it, and all of a sudden he starts to struggle and they go to a Foles, that could save the season. That could save a playoff run. Get what I mean? It saves your job. So I do like it in that sense. Nick Foles is just a calming presence.
Yeah,
he's a professional. I love that.
He's also a suitcase. It's also a suitcase at this point of his career, right? He had one good stretch that made us all cheer, except for Patriots fans.
It could be worse, bro.
But so to go back through. to go from like most recent to like, since since Ryan Pace came in, he traded a 4th round pick for Nick Foles. Not the greatest. Another big thing and he's been injured the last couple years now, but the past 3 years. But Kyle Long finally retired because of injuries. He only played 4 games last year, 8 the year before that, 8 the year before that.
Did he actually? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Did he retire?
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I went looking through like transactions. But yeah, he retired unfortunately. But like I said, just couldn't stay on the field. They trade to Philly. They trade Jordan Howard for a 6th. So they get a 6th back for Jordan Howard. I guess like same thing. Like it's odd that you trade him for a 6th. Like it is what it is.
Well, they did get what's his name. They kind of give up on Howard, which is a sin. I would like to see them keep him too, but
yeah. And then the Khalil Mack trade. So Khalil Mack, they get Khalil Mack a 2nd rounder in this year's draft, and they get a 7th in this year's draft also. And then going back to the Raiders, they gave up 2 firsts. So they gave up a 1st this year. They gave up a 1st last year, which was Josh Jacobs. They gave over a 3rd overall pick in this year, or 3rd round pick in this year's draft, and a 6th round pick for last year's draft. So, that one, it's almost, you can almost make it do, like, especially if you're getting the 2nd back, especially, last year.
I still like it.
Last year it was at the end of the 1st round that, the Raiders have taken Josh Jacobs. This year is obviously more middle of the pack, but you're not a bad team, and that's what you think when you're bringing in Khalil Mack. You're hopefully not going to be a tire fire again, under everything.
God.
So, and then the other thing they did, which was the big one. So, in like a 2-month span back in 2017, they released Jay Cutler. Then they immediately went out and signed Mike Glennon, which once again, I don't know what anyone has ever seen in Mike Glennon to say that's the guy that I want leading my ship.
I like Mike Glennon.
I do too. Yeah, as a backup, not as the franchise-saving quarterback.
He should have got an opportunity. That's all I'm
my God, he did, and he sucked. He did get a chance. He sucked.
Should have got an opportunity with the team he was with originally. That's all I'm gonna say.
So it is what it is. But he signed. You
fit some systems and you don't.
They signed him for 3 years, 45. So you're not paying a ton. You're only paying $15 million a year, but still, it's a good chunk of money, right? And then you go, and that's one of the things. Sure. Then they go out and draft. They trade up to draft Mitch Trubisky. So that's one of the things that when you have a rookie quarterback, your rookie quarterback contract is one of the best things you could ever have. They're making so much lower, especially if they can be good or even decent. They're making so much less than everybody else. But you're counteracting that by signing another quarterback for $15 million. So yeah, maybe Trubisky's only getting 15, say, because he's the 2nd overall pick. But essentially now you have 2 quarterbacks on the roster that equal out to $30 million. So it doesn't, you're offsetting what you just, the value you got out of having a rookie quarterback. You are offsetting that by paying another guy an extra $15 million. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I call that an insurance policy for them. Because I think Nagy's afraid to lose his job. So
well, no, this was even
shoot again this year.
Well, that was even before Nagy. And I meant like this was back then, right? This is when they got the Mike Glennon thing back in 2017. But for the Bears, for the Bears, when they traded up to number 2, they gave up number 3 in that draft. So they only moved up 1 spot. They went to number 3, which San Fran. To be honest, San Fran didn't make the most out of these picks. You're going to realize that when we go through it. San Fran drafted Solomon Thomas, 3rd overall.
We never really panned out to be the big guy that they thought.
No, and it's one of those things, right? When you have, maybe he has more of an opportunity this year, right?
He's still good. He's still, don't get me wrong, he's still really good.
Yeah, but it's hard, right? When you have DeForest Buckner and you have Eric Armstead, and then you get Nick Bosa, you're kind of automatically just going to be putting, having less snaps. But so they had him. They had number 67 overall that year, which was Akilo Witherspoon, which is a cornerback. He's got 3, career INTs, not the greatest. Solomon Thomas also only has 6 career sacks. Same thing, not the greatest, not what you would hope for the number 3 overall. They had a number 111, 111. So I think they traded that away. And then they had a third-round pick in 2018 that they ended up getting Fred Warner out of, which he's actually been the kind of the best player out of the whole trade. He's had 240 some tackles in the last 2 years. Put up 1 INT, 3 sacks. Or this year he put up 1 INT, 3 sacks, 118 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 5 QB hits. Like, he's just out there flying around. So he's been the one good thing. But they gave up, a lot of picks.
That's the gamble you take, though, man.
And
that's how it works.
But to take,
they thought he was the guy.
Mitch Trubisky, right? So I don't know. I follow one big news guy, Robert Mays, off the Ringer, and he's a huge Chicago Bears fan, and he just can't understand on a day-to-day basis what is going on. Like I said, some of the contracts, the Eddie Goldman, the Trey Burton, the Buster Screen, a lot of these guys, none of them have worked out for free agency. A lot of the draft picks haven't worked out. If you go back, I think it was 2017 or 2015 or 2016, which would be like the Ryan Pace first-year draft. There's nobody left off that. There's a handful of guys that are average, below average players that are left, from all that. So there's just so much to it that it's, maybe he's not the guy. Maybe Ryan Pace, I think if they don't do something this year, if they have another bad year, I can see him going. Maybe it's Matt Nagy too, but I think it'd be Ryan Pace before Matt Nagy, which usually the coach doesn't last long after the GM goes.
I don't know. I think you don't panic. I don't think you don't panic. You see what they do this year, what goes on this year in Chicago. They didn't run the ball as good as they wanted to last year. That's a fact.
No, they
do a lot of things offensively.
They averaged under 3.7 yards an attempt for David Montgomery, and then 3.3.
Oh, yeah. I got that in my notes too.
That's terrible.
That's not on Montgomery. He was really good in
college. He looked electric out there, but it's just
exactly.
they got to build up that offensive line, and
exactly
there it goes.
That's like you said, it's kind of snowball effect. I always think, I don't know how many times I preach on this podcast. I'm a firm believer in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and that's how you build your team. Trubisky, we're going to see a little bit this year. This will be his third year, Eric, or fourth? Third year?
This is fourth.
So we'll see what he's got. He only really started. He had one decent year in college, maybe 2 years he started. But I wasn't a big fan of him coming out. He's a crazy athlete, though. He's good on the run. He's got a crazy arm. But when he came out of South Carolina. No, it's North, actually. Sorry.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. When he came into North Carolina, what I did like is he had spurts where he was deadly accurate, but he just didn't transpire to the NFL.
And he's always going to have a hard time, right?
He didn't get enough starts in college.
No, and that was a lot of it, right? Was it he's got the tools maybe, but is he electric enough? And he's always going to have a hard time. From now until the day he retires, he's going to be compared.
His accuracy is just killer. His numbers last year weren't too bad, but.
Well, no, but they actually went down. So last year he went.
No, they did go down. Yeah.
Last year he had 3,138 yards, 17 TDs, 10 interceptions. The year before he went 24 and 12. 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, around the same. He got sacked 38 times last year, so the pressure was coming a lot quicker last year, which maybe it's, the second year they see Matt Nagy's offense, right, of him running it fully. Maybe a lot of teams are picking up on that stuff. He also went from, in 2018, he had 421 yards rushing and 3 TDs, to last year he only rushed for 193 and 2 TDs. So you took off 200 yards rushing, you dropped, a total of 8 TDs, and you added 2 extra interceptions, and he got sacked more. So he got benched for Chase Daniels, right? And Chase Daniels, by the numbers, technically did better in his opportunities.
I watched some of that game where Chase Daniels started, and they were in they're in London.
Yeah.
They're playing Oakland. Anyway, so they kind of rallied, but I really like Chase Daniels, but just no. You'd rather have Trubisky. Honestly, at least Trubisky can take off running, but there's some to like. I don't agree with everything you said there. Yeah, I'm not a big fan that they traded up for him and they gave up what they gave up. But Trubisky, a lot of make or break's going to be this year. Montgomery, I love. I love both running backs. Robertson, great.
Robinson, yeah.
I really like – Eric didn't really talk too much about Miller. Really like him. He's out of Memphis. This is his second year, and he had 52 receptions for 656 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a little bit of a – he's a smaller receiver too, but he's just a really good guy in space and can make big yards after the catch. This year for Chicago, just a lot of things happened. Their offensive line, like Eric touched on, is horrible. They couldn't they're based off the run. They couldn't get anything running, so they couldn't get anything passing. So anyway, so they're predictable. Mac only had 8.5 sacks, which is horrible. Then they go out and sign Robert Quinn, which I totally do not agree with, who had 11.5 sacks. Yeah, of course you did. You were Dallas, who had a pretty good tight end on the other side of you, Lawrence. You know what I mean? What a joke. So they give him $70 million if he plays out this whole contract.
5 years.
You write that down, folks. He will not play out this contract. He'll be lucky if he's there in year 3. I like Quinn, but he's a one-trick pony. He's quick off the edge. If he can beat the tackle straight off the edge.
Oh, he's got a wicked bend, right?
Quarterback, but he's just a one-trick pony. He's all right against the run. I thought he was going to be – this is another guy that came out of North Carolina, if I remember correctly. I thought he'd be a lot better, but he's not. He is who he is. He was really good for – like I said, he was really good for Dallas last year. The year before, he was in Miami. And the year before that, he was with the Rams. And
yeah, and he
just never panned out to be what he's supposed to be.
For a couple of years, he was one of, if not – he was right there with J.J. Watt when he first came in for those first couple of years.
Until he caught on to his tendencies.
Well, even then, it wasn't even so much the tendencies as it was – because it's one of those things. If you do something really good, it doesn't matter how – and he was so good at the bend around the corner and stuff that it didn't matter how good the other guys on the other side is because he'll beat them every time still. But he ran into a lot of injuries is what the big thing was for him. So his big thing is now trying to say, look, I'm healthy now. I can do this, every day now, and that's I think what he's trying to get back to. But yeah, I didn't really agree with that.
Still a bit of a reach though.
Yeah, it's I said you hope that they build. Like I said, they don't have a first round pick. They to
me to Chicago, a lot of the trouble, their offensive line wasn't good enough. If you can't run, they're like a play action team, so they couldn't run, didn't have enough success running. So they can go play action where they had all the big plays the year before with Trubisky, where he can show off his arm.
And that's where he does his best work, right?
Exactly. It's just a downward slope for them. So they couldn't run the ball to set up the pass, and then they tried to set up they couldn't even set up the pass or throw the ball to set up the run. And it was just a backfire all over. Their defense, pretty damn good this year. Could have been better, yes.
Yeah.
But still pretty damn good.
But they got studs over there, right? And like I said, they can get rid of.
Oh, for sure. I still think Chicago's overrated. I still don't think Chicago's just good enough on both sides of the ball.
No, and I think they got to do something with the offensive line. Like you said, build that up, and that's the way we talk about all these guys, right? And that's what we talk about building from.
It's a fact.
Building from the trenches.
Offensive lineman, we'll just name drop a couple right off the top of my head. Dallas comes to mind,
yes.
And they're not going to be as good as they were last year because they lost their center, Frederic.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Frederick. He's not
Frederick, whatever. I want to call him Frederic. It sounds sexy, Frederic.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you don't understand people to lose one guy off your offensive line. If you have multiple years starting, it's just a unit. It's like a family. You guys just know each other's tendencies, your moves. Everything's huge that way. That's even really big for your running back. Bell had all that luck with the Steelers.
Yeah.
He is a patient running back. Well, his guys knew to keep on their blocks.
Yeah, and
take a little bit longer.
They got an awesome offensive line too. So
they don't anymore. They had some guys retire and leaving free agency.
We'll probably eventually get into after the draft and after more things shake out. Maybe we'll get into doing some other stuff like breaking down each conference and stuff before the season, if there even is a season. But we'll get into that stuff. But yeah, like I said, they got a lot of holes, and I think a lot of it comes from bad general manager work.
I don't know. Like it's yes and no, but I'm gonna come out on my final thoughts on this. The Bears could be decent next year, okay? Like, it could be decent. Nick Foles is kind of an insurance policy. See if you can't let a fire underneath Trubisky's ass. I really like Montgomery. Like, I love their tandem at running back, period. Robertson's still got lots of gas in the tank. I like Miller. Well, Mac's just a stud, and he's still young as hell. We'll see what Quinn's got. I like Hicks. Like, their D-line's going to be really good. I like where they are. Like, their defense is really good. They brought back Trevathan. I really like him too. He's underrated. He came from Denver a couple of years ago. He's been nothing but a stud for them. They got Smith from Georgia. Like, they're really good on that side of the ball. So anything they do here in the draft to add to that, or later on in free agency after the draft, and snag a guy or a veteran here or there too, they're awesome. Offensively, we'll see what they do in the draft. I'm very interested. They could add another receiver. They need help on the line, like me and Eric stated. They could use another tight end, even though they got like 6 on the roster.
No.
Maybe they go get a fullback. I'd like to see them get a fullback. And why not? A lot of teams are trending back this way, which me and Eric have mentioned multiple times. San Francisco, New England, Chargers, Steelers. Like, a lot of teams are going back. And Browns, they're going back to a fullback, traditional fullback, which I absolutely love. Another hat on the, to block for you as a traditional running back, which I love. So we'll see with them. Like, Nick Trubisky, I'm very interested to see. I haven't given up on him like a lot of people have. Don't think he's fucking terrible. Like to see his accuracy. Like, I've get a little bit better. Like, he was not really good last year. He was a lot better the year before, but his accuracy needs to improve a lot, like in all phases. Deep ball, middle, and your dink and dunk. By that I mean your outlet passes for 5 yards or less. So I'm very interested to see. Like, it's not all, to me personally, it's not all on Trubisky. No. I do like Berkman or whatever, like the tight end Eric kind of bagged on. He's making $8 million a year. That's a big price tag, so they expect production. But he just needs to stay healthy. Last year was a wash. Just he was getting up the whole year. I'm interested to see third year of the contract, third year of Chicago. Let's go. What do you got?
I think a lot of it comes down to they just had a lot of injuries, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just more injuries than anything. But we're gonna
no excuses though, right?
No, exactly. That's football. So we'll cut her there. Like I said, it's they had a good season. We'll see how they end up, and we'll sign off from here. If you guys haven't yet, thank you for listening. We always appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, also go check out Facebook, go check out the Instagram, go check out the YouTube channel. We're kind of cutting this stuff up too. Like
give it a like,
give it a subscribe, leave comments on anything you can. Interact with us on the social media. Like I said,
tell us we suck. Tell us something.
Yeah, tell us whatever you want. Like I said, we're open to listening to all this stuff, right? So, anyways, so from Eric and from Trevor, we'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good one, guys. Keep your stick on the ice.
Bye.